Today I'll be showing you how to make this pirate ship looking thing. I'm going to be making an unpainted version so you can give it whatever paint job you want, but I'll be showing you how to make the basic structure of this. So you're going to need everything you see here on screen. You're going to need some wooden skewers, some form of scissors, a pencil, some yarn, paper, cardboard obviously, and a hot glue gun. Alright, so step one is going to be to trace out the shape that you want your boat to be. So I'm going to do that really quick. Once you have the rough shape of your boat, you're going to want to cut out that shape. Now you're just going to go ahead and touch up some of the edges that are a little sharper, just to make sure it's the shape that you want it to be. Alright, so I'm pretty happy with this shape, so this is what we're going to use. Now the next step is you're going to take a piece of cardboard and you're just going to make another copy of this. So you're just going to place it down and then just trace it and then just make a duplicate of it. Now that you have your two pieces, you're going to lay them over top of each other just to make sure they're the same size. So as you can see, there's a little bit of places where it's overlapped. It's like not the same size, and so I'm just going to take my scissors and I'm just going to trim away those areas. Alright, now that they're closer to the same size, we're going to move on to our next step. The next step is going to be making the bottom of our boat. So you're going to want to take a piece and you want to make sure it's as long as your boat at least. And then you're just going to cut it based on the thickness of your boat. So if you want like a weirdly thick boat, you're going to do really thick, and if you want a really skinny one, you're going to do skinny. I'm going to do about this size. You're just going to have to kind of eyeball it. There's not like a specific measurement that you're going to use. So this looks pretty good. So I'm going to make sure that it's flat on this side. And then you're going to want to make sure it curves into a point on the end, kind of like this, so your edges curve in like that. So if you're wondering why these pieces have hot glue on them now, it's because I did a whole bunch of tutorial and then I realized that this piece is way too thick and it just looked horrible. And I want to be able to deliver stuff that actually is going to look good, so you guys know that it's like this is going to look good at the end. So the problem I had is that this piece is just way too thick for this, and it just made it look absolutely horrible. So I'm just going to trim this down a little bit. And then you gotta touch up the edge up here as well. Alright, so now that we have this piece trimmed back down and these two pieces, we're gonna glue them onto this part. You're gonna apply the glue just along the bottom edge of the boat right here. And I used a little bit too much because my hot glue gun was not working. And then so once you have this, you're just gonna make sure it's right along the edge, and then you're just gonna curl this front bit around. Now you're gonna wanna let this dry because you don't want it to come unattached, because this is a pretty big part of the boat. Once this piece is dried, you're just going to do the same for the other side, and voila, it's dry. Now we're just going to glue up the front bit to glue the front pieces together, so you're just going to get a big glob of hot glue and put it up right here, and then just pinch these together to bring them all together. Pinch it specifically down here where all three pieces meet to pull them all together. And don't worry if you think there's imperfections or little bits of hot glue like mine kind of has. When you paint over it, you can barely notice it and it'll be fine. Alright, now that we have our body done, we're going to be doing this decking part. Now, what you're going to do for your decking is you're just going to take a piece of cardboard and you're literally just going to put it in. Now make sure this is too small. You want it to be bigger than this bottom bit so the boat goes outwards a little bit, but not too big. So I found this piece, I'm going to put it here, and then I'll do one for here and then one for here. Okay. Now we're going to do this back section. This part's pretty easy. You're just going to do the same thing you did on the front. You're just going to find little pieces that fit into those areas, and you're just going to glue them in there. Alright, now that we have all the main sections done, what we're going to do is we're going to fill in these little gaps here with just some small pieces of cardboard that we can find, just to fill them in so you can't see into the ship. And there you have it. That's the main part of your ship. Now we're going to go on to adding everything else. So next thing you're going to add is a rudder. Rudder is super easy. Literally all you're going to do is you're going to take just a tiny square, a rectangle of cardboard, and then you're going to take a little notch out of the edge like so, and then you're just going to glue it on to the boat like this. Very simple, very easy. It'll make it look a lot better. Now we're going to move on to the most tedious part, and the part that's frankly the most annoying. So this is the masts. So for masts, I'm going to do 3, and these things have a pointy end, so what I like to do is I want one right here, and I'll just poke them through. Now you gotta be careful if you're gonna poke them through like I am, because you don't want to like break or bend the cardboard, because then it just is very ugly and annoying. Like see like that, like how it's bending there. And I'm just going to do 2 masts for simplicity purposes for this video. You're going to want the middle mast, if you have 3, to be the tallest, but since I only have 2, you're going to want your back one to be taller than your front one. And then you're going to want to take your thing and you're going to want to stick a bit of it in the front, like so. This is going to make it, that's going to be your like little front thing that sticks out the front. I don't know what theirs are called. Some sail nerd can tell you. Bam. Then you're just going to take your hot glue and you're just going to put it around the edges to secure them in place. And bam, that's how you do your basic masts. Now what you're going to do is you're going to take another one of these, and so since this ship only has these 2 masts, I'm only going to do 2 sails. So I'm just going to get 2 of these to be our, like, the things that hold the mast. I don't know what those are called either. And then we're just going to cut out our masks, not masks. What you're going to do is you're going to take your thing, step 1. Then you're going to glue it on to your little stick that holds it. And this is obviously too big for the ship and for the thing that it's holding. That's somewhat on purpose, as you'll see. So we're going to stick it on there. Then we're going to trim the sides, but we're going to trim them diagonally like this. So they go out at an angle and it makes kind of a trapezoid. Then you're just going to trim the bottom, trim it up some more, and bam, you have a mast. We're just going to glue it right on there. One of the cool things you can do though is instead of just gluing it straight on, you can curl it a little bit. And then so it'll sit like this and it'll look like it's blowing in the wind. So we're going to do that really quick. So there's that. And then we're going to do the same with this one. And one final thing before we move on to using that yarn, we're going to take just one more little bit of wood and we're going to stick it in the back like that, and then we're obviously going to secure it with some more hot glue, and then we're just going to take a little strip of paper, and this is going to be the I think it's called the Jack flag. I'm not entirely sure, but you glue it on the back like this, and this is like the big flag. And you can do this on the tops of your masts as well, but for this boat, I'm just going to do it back here. And this is our basic ship, and if you want to stop here, you totally can. Some people might not like how the rigging looks, and you can use different strings for the rigging. I'm just going to use this yarn, because it's what I have available, but if you want to use like twine or like some thread that you have, that works as well. So this is a really easy part. Basically what you're going to do is you're going to glue right here, right above the mast, not on the top, but right above your mast, and then right here, and then on the tip of here. And then you take your string, and you just, I'm going to wrap mine around here. And then you just draw it through, and then you want to add a little sag, so you can press down a little bit. And then you're going to cut here, trim the excess here, and then just pull off any little hot glue strings that are still on there. And bam, there you have it. This is a quick and simple little boat that you can do. I know this isn't the very awesome looking one that I showed at the beginning, but this is a very simple one that you can make, and it can easily turn into this. Do whatever you want with it, add more sails, make it longer, bigger. This is just a very simple template to make much more complex boats. Now, we're gonna watch the boat sink. So the ship obviously can survive fire, but what about explosion? No, cannot survive explosion. Thanks for watching. If you liked this video, consider liking and subscribing. Thanks.